The Great Mechanical War had all but destroyed the Neuron and Melonan star systems, forcing their inhabitants to seek refuge amid the Genuvian system. This left Neuron society to lay new roots on the planet Herg, a planet whose volcanic supercontinent was made up from plains of pink sand and bordered with an obsidian beach. While the constant lava flow posed some issues, the greater problem was that of the intense gravity, nearly 9 times what they were used to. To combat this monumental pressure, the Hergians lent into their mechanical enhancements, something they've been flirting with for generations, but never on this scale. Many people were less man than machine, and if you were to see them without their mechanical exoskeleton, it may be difficult to recall their once proud Neuron form. Efforts to terraform Herg into a more Earth-like condition were of course underway, but progress was slow and obscenely expensive since the planet was already inhabited. Despite this, Herg was quickly deemed the capital planet of Neuron's great solar empire. An ironic name considering it wasn't great, it wasn't solar, and given it was a single planet they didn't even technically own, it wasn't much of an empire either. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Genuvian system, the Avians had claimed the planet Bahaj, an icy hellscape with frozen poles. This new environment necessitated the addition of thick fur and blubbery skin. Far too heavy to fly, these new Avians, now called Flegids, modified their wings into heat-dispensing fans that they could open or close at will. This meant they were never at risk of overheating, even if they entered a warmer environment. But the greatest change present in the society was a cultural one. The Mechanical War was supposed to be a wholly and just battle, so its catastrophic conclusion left many Flegids with a crisis of faith. Hundreds of thousands of people rejected Rodat Caraway and embraced a different god called Waynahim. While Caraway was seen as a sun deity associated with space and the heavens above, Wayna was an earthly spirit, once associated with the foggy depths of Melona, but now with Bahaj's frigid sea. This division of beliefs resulted in a great deal of inner conflict, but for the time being it was mostly manageable, with the two groups identifying first and foremost as fellow Flegids. Then there were the Septipeds of Janu, the gracious neighbors that allowed the Neurons and Avians to live in this star system at all. By far the least affected by the war, their culture and environment remained mostly unchanged, beyond of course the introduction of these two new cultures, which they happily adopted certain aspects from. From avian fashion and architecture to Neuron cuisine and technology, alongside the extreme beliefs held by both concerning the other residents of their galaxy. While there still existed some contempt for the other post-humans, the forced cooperation of these three highly different groups mostly subsided those beliefs. Instead, their greatest bane were the uplifted animals and aliens scattered across the galaxy. While government officials tried to play nice with these groups, certain independent militias, such as the Sons of Sharma, were fueled by their hatred for these people, especially those found on planet Ito. Ito was a Petalman colony planet made up of a dense alien rainforest filled with strange and dangerous creatures, such as the Akatu, an ambush predator with a bizarre life cycle. What appears at first glance to be the creature's head is actually its child, which launches like a javelin at its prey. Upon reaching a certain age, the child will eventually detach, kill and eat its mother, then pupate, completing its metamorphosis similar to a butterfly. These creatures killed countless colonists, but since extermination campaigns had been outlawed long ago, they could only slay these predators in self-defense. And so they had no choice but to become more resilient to match this harsh forest. They gave themselves durable exoskeletons of bone and tightly woven hair, lined with hooked barbs, horns, and retractable claws, so they would never be without a weapon. Very few people were interested in colonizing this planet, but those who were came prepared. Uplifted canines flocked to the world in search of excitement and adventure, while countless Tanu were drawn to the planet for its limited occupancy. Over time, this population garnered the highest percentage of alien or uplifted life. This obviously made Ito a massive target for the Sons of Sharma. Due to its reputation as a home to strong, battle-ready warriors, they figured if they could strike the Etans down, the other uplifts would forever live in fear. And so a battalion of Sharman troops was sent to a small encampment on the edge of Eton civilization, where they opened fire on the hapless townsfolk. For the next half hour, the camp was engulfed in gunfire as the two groups blindly shot at the other. When the dust eventually settled, every single Sharman soldier was dead, and the only Eton casualty was Drew Alveus, a 12-year-old boy who helped in the shootout by retrieving ammo for his mother. He was shot in the neck and bled out sometime later. In the days following the shootout, a vigilante group calling themselves the Alveus Angels was formed, with the simple goal of avenging this young boy's tragic death. But back in the Genuvian system, the local politicians took a very different stance. They were infuriated by the battle and how the Etans had mercilessly slaughtered hundreds of Hergian citizens. They sent a group of representatives to try the Etans for interstellar war crimes, but as their ship entered the atmosphere, it was suddenly met with a second ship. In a massive head-on collision, the two vessels were engulfed in flame before plummeting over 30,000 feet to the jungle below. To state the obvious, there were no survivors. The second ship was piloted by a woman named Hai Bo, Drew's mother and a vocal advocate of the Alveus Angels. Upon learning this information, the Great Solar Empire formally declared war against Ito, and it wasn't long before countless allies were pulled into the war as well. For Ito, this included several smaller planets like Picus, home to the Petalmen, and Termajor, home of the Humpbacks, but also a handful of galactic superpowers like New Europa and Ashona. Hurg, on the other hand, was of course allied with Janu and Bahaj, but also supported by the Interstellar Banking Guild, an interplanetary organization run by a group of wealthy floaters. Alongside the planet New West, it was once home to the Botanists, a group of hardcore environmentalists that had modified their bodies for a fully agricultural lifestyle, completely devoid of industrialization. Over time, these environmentalist views shifted even further, to the point that they modified their own brains away from sapiens, to become strange, tree-dwelling animals known as the Imps. Those who rejected this fate became the Seers, a group of biological processing units that fulfilled a similar niche to the operators of New Europa, by controlling a group of robotic gardeners that tended to the planet's ecosystem. Between the financial support offered by the IBG, the mechanical and biological technology granted by the Seers and Septipeds, and the undying passion of the Hurgians and Flegids, this group of galactic superpowers would prove themselves as a mighty foe against the rest of the galaxy.